I'm walking in this random field alone because that right there is a movie theater, and I am doing a little solo date for Barbenheimer, a movie doubleheader, giving me a reason to go back to the movies. Here's all the movies I've watched in theaters since the pandemic. It's not a lot of them, but I'm excited to watch these two, especially with all the meme hype. And apparently they're good, according to Rotten Tomatoes. We'll see for ourselves.
And going back in time and putting on my urbanist hat as I was walking to the bus stop, there was a brand new apartment complex being constructed, which is honestly happening in multiple spots around Tally at this moment. I had to take the bus, but the bus stop had no shade, so you could literally see my sweat on my arm. And I think people are excited for Barbenheimer because they're not boring, stale sequels. They're originals. Yes, Barbie is off of a product, but Oppenheimer and Barbie are original ideas. And the box office is surely rewarding it. And Mr. Musk, I disagree with you. Men could rock pink. I mean, just look at Ryan Gosling in the movie. And look at my guy, Joe Burrow.
And this is irrelevant to the experience today, but I'm so thankful Bob Iger admitted that they've been releasing too much Marvel and Star Wars content, just shoving it down everyone's throats in Disney+. I agree 100%.
Basically sold out theaters for both movies in the CMX Fall Chase, the best movie theater in Tallahassee because it's newly renovated.
I'm coming out of the movie theater now. I gotta hurry because I have to eat and play pickleball. Win or go home for that. But Oppenheimer was the obvious first movie to see, and then Barbie, wow, lived up to the expectations and the hype. Both movies did, and it was definitely a cute feeling with everyone wearing pink coming out of the movie theater after watching Barbie. Now to see if I could get a Costco hot dog. They are too nice at Costco. Food court is closed, but I got a free sample.
And I had to see the iconic deflationary rotisserie chicken. And then on to pickleball with some pickles in my stomach. Honestly, pickleball is fun. It seems like a simple game at first, but then there actually is a bunch of strategy that goes into it.
Let's go. I got my first ever pickleball victory, 8 IM. It's win or go home, and we won. Moving on in the bracket. And for my thoughts on Barbenheimer, lived up to the hype without a doubt. Both movies are cathartically relating to each other. I mean, obviously one's the black atomic bomb aesthetic, and other ones like the bright pink and happy on the surface, but both movies are dissecting what's wrong with humanity. For Oppenheimer, it's all about Robert and having him deal with the emotional intensity of killing more people than he thought with a weapon that he didn't really get to choose the outcome of. And people around him are betraying him, and a former lover committed suicide. If that all is really true, and that's how his life was depicted as an accused communist, even though he was just an intelligent man seeking new ideas and contemplating political philosophy, I don't see anything wrong with that. But of course, America was really scared about communism in those days. And there's a beautiful moment where after the atomic bomb gets dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Robert goes into his room with a bunch of people that are foot stomping, which is a sound effect that you hear earlier in the movie because there's two kind of approaching timelines. I mean, there's the timeline of Oppenheimer slowly going forward, and then there's this timeline that's going super slowly, which is interviews and exposition, and then they meet up. So you heard that sound effect before, and then they use it, and then you see the white flash and people withering away. Very impactful scene. I mean, the last 30 seconds is a very impactful scene where we have Albert Einstein, shout out to him in One Piece. He tells Oppenheimer that what you created might very well end the world. And then the movie shows a very deafening, dreadful, nihilistic scene, the whole earth exploding with nuclear weapons. Yeah, that's why you watch Oppenheimer first and then Barbie second. And if I had to be honest, I enjoyed Barbie ever so slightly more than Oppenheimer because the first third of Oppenheimer, I was sort of confused and kind of bored with how the plot was progressing. But very quickly, whoever played Oppenheimer, I saw him in Inception. He was an amazing actor. And then we go to Ryan Gosling and Barbie. You are Knuff. Barbie's this amazing breaking the fourth wall film where in the first quarter of the movie it was very predictable with the trailers, but then it took a turn with Ken having to deal with patriarchy and finding himself, and it was low-key more about Ken than Barbie. And I loved the way that the plot turned. I loved how forward and transparent the film was, because Mattel, I'm sure, had their hands like deep into the production of this movie, and they made it fun of themselves, which I am very happy for. It's not like the Coke factory. It's not even a factory. The World of Coke in Atlanta, where they just sing all praises all the time. If you could making fun of yourself as a company, I'll take it. Like, for example, when Tesla threw the ball at the Cybertruck window and it broke, Elon's laughing it away. I mean, you gotta admit it what you gotta admit. Companies have faults, and I'm all for companies being transparent and making jokes about it. And there was literally a Duolingo gag. And how did I know it was Duolingo? Two very, very significant things. So there was this like husband who's like on screen for like 30 seconds, but he has this ongoing Duolingo gag where he's like trying to learn Spanish. He's learning the word bolígrafo, which is pen in Spanish. It's one of the first words you learn on Duolingo. But they also have the iconic Duolingo sound, like the da-din, in the movie. And I couldn't help but to chuckle at that. Like, I laughed at multiple jokes in Barbie. Like, there's like one joke that's like aimed at the male part of the audience where it's like, oh, they were obsessed with the Zack Snyder cut. And I was like, that joke didn't really land. And there's some other jokes that didn't land, but the majority of them do. I laughed here and there in Oppenheimer. There's this one joke by Matt Damon's character where he says, like, oh, I'm just going to kill him. And he says, like, straight face, and that got me a little laugh. But Oppenheimer is very serious. The tone is super down here. And then Barbie's all fun. Even though it does tackle, like, self-identity, gender roles, both movies very well executed. And one part of Barbie that bugged me, and people will look over this so easily, but I kind of felt like I was in a GM ad for like a good 20 minutes of the film, because they CG'd a GM logo on a building, and it's like the brand new electric vehicles GM logo that's like super bright and just out of place, because you don't really see that in the building. They also have like a Warner Bros. Like logo on the building. Like, I noticed that. I was like, kind of feeling off, because Warner Bros. Produced the movie, so I guess that's why they have it slapped on there. And then the GM logo, that's even more out of place. And I liked how the Hummer was a part of the whole like male thing, just like stocks and crypto and CDs and treasury bonds, even though I'm actually into that stuff, so I guess I play into the patriarchy. But I like pink, so I gotta pass. So the Hummer is a part of the whole patriarchy, and a lot of horses. There's just like horses playing on a bunch of TVs throughout the film, which is kind of like a subliminal gag, because they never address it, but it's just there and it's happening, and I'm just like, what's going on? They're not addressing it. That's great. And they also had the Chevy Blazer, so both the Hummer and the Blazer are electric EVs. They had like a GMC vehicle, those large 7-seat SUVs. Most people will easily forget that GM was a huge like sponsor and ad in the movie, but that kind of bothers me, even though I did see a Model 3 at the end. Barbie, Robert J. Oppenheimer, amazing clash of films. I love this duo. Definitely don't regret seeing both of them. It was 5 hours of runtime. You are going to feel the 3 hours of Oppenheimer. It does kind of feel heavy at times and slow moving, but both movies are very well worth your time. And shout out to the Barbie soundtrack. Ken had like a musical number. Ryan Gosling, Margaret Robbie, I think that's her name. So many star-studded actors on both sides. There was the actor from Tick, Tick, Boom in the Barbie movie. Emily Blunt was fantastic in Oppenheimer. So many different famous actors. We could talk about Robert Downey Jr.'s character. Sort of like a twist villain in a way. Kind of like the villain that failed to ruin Oppenheimer's image. Now I'm going to eat for the first time today since the morning.